Yeah.
Yeah, I got the headphones in, yeah. All righty, we are live. Grady Thrallful, how are you, mate? It's great to catch up here, virtually back again. And we're going to have a bit of a chat about the Gold Coast Marathon and leading in a couple of weeks out, mate. And it's getting pretty excited. So we thought we'd take this opportunity to jump on a call and, just talk about a few tips for the race day. And, how you going, mate?
Correct, Zaka. This time in 2 weeks, it will all be run and done Sunday evening. I'm good, thank you. Looking forward to sharing a race weekend. I think me and you are sharing some accommodation in 2 weeks' time up at the Gold Coast. This has evolved a bit, hasn't it? Well, I was going to write a blog, I think Tuesday. Yeah. Come up with the Andy Lane gave us the idea to do something around the Gold Coast. I was going to write a blog. And then I thought, you know what, I can't be bothered typing stuff in and proofreading it. So why don't I just record a little video message for all the Run to PB members? And then we decided, hey, it'd be much easier than one person talking to have two people on the call. And this is where we're at Sunday afternoon, talking about Gold Coast Marathon, some tips. And a few little things about the course and stuff like that in 2 weeks' time that hopefully comes in handy for a few of our members who will be lacing up there in 2 weeks' time. I think I looked at the sheet the other day, something like 65, 70 maybe Runs PB members in action on Gold Coast Marathon Festival race weekend, which is pretty exciting.
It's been exciting jumping on your Strava after your Sunday run, seeing all the big Sunday runs pop out over the last few weeks and some big sessions. And it's just been, and also someone who's getting ready for it as a coach as well. And, it's been inspiring as well, seeing and going along the journey together with some of the athletes I coach. And yes, we've been riding a little bit of a wave with down here in Melbourne with the lockdowns, and we're all fingers crossed we're looking good that we'll get up there. And it's an exciting time. We're seeing people getting PBs in the lead up, and just these long runs and practicing nutrition, and just so many great things that Runs PB members. So it's going to be cool to catch up with a lot of them as well.
It is, yeah. We kind of missed the opportunity to do that a lot in 2020. Like, obviously what we do is online coaching, but it's pretty common, especially for the people in Australia, that we get to finally meet a lot of the people that we see their names online and stuff. And I'm looking forward to that also up the Gold Coast. It's been, as with all the marathon preps, there's some people had ups and downs, and that's always expected in marathon stuff. But it's good that I think the majority of people are going to make the start line pretty healthy. I know a lot of my crew kind of had main workouts, their last big workouts on today or maybe like earlier this week. So people have got all the hay in the barn now, and the big focus now shifts to get to the start line injury-free and kind of like fresh as a daisy. And kind of looking forward to sharing the start line. As you did mention, that we'll both be in action as well. You'll be lacing up for your first Gold Coast Marathon. I'll be in the half marathon. Previously kind of ran the half marathon a few times, and I ran the 10K once.
How many halves have you done up there? I've done a couple of 10s, but never the full marathon.
I think I've ran six half marathons maybe. So, it's a pretty popular hunting ground for people who have a fast half marathon. My previous PB was set there before I took a few seconds off it at Melbourne half marathon. But, it's such a good course, a half course, and it always draws such a kind of elite and sub-elite field that you just kind of get sucked along for some fast times. 6 o'clock starting isn't great, like you start in the dark, but we do a lot of our training in the dark, so we're kind of used to that early mornings as well. And then I did have an experience one year pacing the lead females to 35K, which kind of gave me good intel and good experience about what that first 35K looks like, and looking forward to sharing a bit of that tonight.
Yeah, we'll draw on it. I want to pick your brain on a part of that. Some of the course, we'll go through a little bit of that. And, and it's that whole weekend, it's just, you really get a chance to, use the energy of all your runners around you and the fans. And it's a great festival. I mean, it's one of the best, it's got to be one of the best events in Australia that we get to all get up there and enjoy. But
I'd say the best. I think it's probably the best festival.
It has to be, isn't it? Really, yeah. Mate, we wanted to go through a few tips. I think just, we've got a lot of our coaches are working closely with our athletes on really structured programs and on race day, the real nitty gritty. But we thought we'd just go over some more, broader tips and that you can probably draw from, and both of us from our marathon experiences. And yeah, we probably the first one there, mate, that you know, we all talk about is having, setting these programs up, setting goals, and then actually executing on the day and having a race plan. And you obviously talk to your athletes about that on a pre-marathon call.
Yeah, 100%. And the half marathon athletes. And even last week I was down running the Launceston 10K and had my training partner down there, and we kind of spoke about his race plan before it and really kind of had stuff teed up to the second. Like I think our plan was to go through 5K in 14:47 to 14:50. And we went through in 14:49, like to the absolute second, have these things kind of planned. And it's something that I think everyone definitely needs to have sorted. I'm really confident that all our coaches will be in communication with their athletes during the week. It's interesting. Some athletes want to know early. So some athletes in the past have hit me up, 2 weeks, 10 days out saying, hey, I want to start thinking about this. I want to start visualizing it. I want to start kind of preparing for it. Can you tell me what the plan's going to be? Other athletes, it's kind of like a 1 or 2 day before kind of thing. They're happy to find out and kind of start thinking about it then. But really, when we talk about race plan, like we're talking about plan for pacing. That's probably the main thing. And sticking to it and being disciplined to stick to it as well. It's an exciting race weekend. You're going to be fresh on the start line. You're going to have a whole lot of adrenaline pumping, and especially for marathon runners, like you've been doing all your marathon paced workouts previously, probably by yourself, probably in cooler weather, probably a bit tired, you're not tapered, and all of a sudden you kind of start out at maybe that race pace plan and it feels super easy and you think you can kind of up it or the other way. Sometimes it feels hard and you go, how am I going to keep this up for 42K? But trust in the plan, have a good plan, discuss it with your coach, ask questions if you've got questions about it. And the other part of that plan is as well around nutrition. So what have you been practicing with gels? What have you been practicing with drinks? It's one of those things that you've just got to, you get really focused on and really locked into it. And that's really going to help a lot of people experience success on race day by having a plan, sticking to it. A marathon's not something you wing. Like you don't just wake up that morning and go, you know what, 3:30K pace feels good today, or 4:05K pace. Like your coaches would know from your specific workouts what pace is going to be in the ballpark. Sometimes it's hard to know exact pace, but they'll know a ballpark pace. And just like you, Zach, like we've been talking about your, Matt and I analyze your training every week. We kind of send comments about it, and I know I've sent in a prediction for what I think pace you could go out and race at. And it might be a minute here or there, higher or faster or slower. But at the end of the day, I think most of the coaches have a pretty good read on their athletes, how fit they are, and what's going to be a successful and sustainable for the full distance race plan for them. So, tip number 1, have a race plan. Anything else to add there? Have you started thinking about yours? Put it in on a piece of paper and have it on a piece of paper. If your coach sends it to you, print it out or write it out, like read over it, know it. You don't want to stand on the start line going, oh, was that 3:40 pace they said for the first 10K or 3:30 pace? Like have it nailed.
Yeah, and what you said about, a lot of your sessions you're doing when you got heavy legs and when you're tapered, you're going to be ready to go, and you've got to be patient, because I think it's easy to get sucked into the energy of the event and the adrenaline going, and you go, this is feeling great. And you can really make up time in the back half of races. I think pretty much, I read a stat, and you can fact check this on me later, Brady, but I reckon every event over the 3K, world records have been broken, and they've all been negative split.
Negative split, yeah.
So you just got to be patient early, and then you know that you're going to come home and you can make up time, and you can really bring it home and get that PB and run that time. So, yes, sticking to the plan, having a race plan, and, and we'll talk a bit through how that can – it can be a roller coaster, the marathon. It's you've got to be able to work through some different stages, but having that plan in the first part is definitely the key.
Yeah, and when you get your plan too, like I like to send guys like, this is part A, part B, part C, part D of the plan, or this is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and maybe break the race into 3 stages. And thinking about different inspirations and different themes, like different. And I think it's good to break it down mentally. Like you don't have to go off the start line and go, okay, I've got 42K ahead of me. It's like, okay, I've got 16K in stage one before I need before I need to change my thinking to then worry about getting from 16 to 30K, for example. So, and that's where in those stages, it's like, well, stage one's all about hitting this pace and hitting these 2 drinks or these 2 gels. Then we're going to worry about stage 2 when we get to it. So, yeah, definitely. I know for me mentally, breaking down the plans definitely something I do personally, and highly recommend that other people do as well.
Spot on, mate. Now you mentioned nutrition, planning and gels and knowing what you're going to have on the day, and I think that is, I guess that's where it comes into nothing new on race day. Your tip number 2. And, we can talk about gels and that, but also apparel, shoes, socks, everything down the underwear. You want to know what you're comfortable with, that doesn't chafe, that you feel that you're confident in. So you've done your workouts in this kind of gear. And, I really think this is a really good one. Simple, but it makes total sense.
Simple, easy, but big, huge bang for your buck. You know what I mean? Like, this is stuff that if you get wrong on race day, it can have a massive impact. Can be pretty detrimental if you're on the side of the road vomiting, or you have to go to the toilet a number of times or whatever it is because you've picked up a gel at the expo the day before. They look good. You've heard good things about them and you decide to have 3 in the first hour. Practicing the things. So on race day, nothing's new. So you kind of summarize it really well. I'd even chuck in there as well, like get up time. So the racing starts at 6, we've still got 2 weeks. Is there a day where you can get up at 3:30 or 4 to practice what that's going to be like on race day? Because if you've been getting up at 9 a.m. and doing all your runs at 11, the experience on race morning, you're going to have that adrenaline and stuff, and it's going to kick in. It's going to be maybe fine, but it's going to be different. It's going to be something new. It's going to be a new experience. So, I like to call it like the dress rehearsal with a lot of my guys. I know Chris O'Neill, one of our coaches, uses that kind of term as well, and he kind of builds it around sometimes a workout or a medium long run or a long run in there. So, it's the shoes. It's the doing the shoelaces up the same way on the shoes. It's the how, is it 60 minutes before the race you have the coffee, or is it 90 minutes for you? Is it 2 pieces of toast with jam, or is it peanut butter? Like, all those things, we're all going to have our own preferences, and you just need to make sure you're just nailing what your routine is. So nothing is new on race day. Like a comfort thing is the kit. Like, it's, the singlet you've been wearing the last 6 weeks might not be the best looking singlet, but if you've worn it for all your marathon workouts, I wouldn't be changing that come race morning. So nothing new on race day. It's, I've heard it a million times, so I didn't make that up. I just ripped it off. So, but what about you? You thought about, like, I know for me in the half marathon, I'll be wearing the same singlet I raced in the last, 5 races I've done, same shoes I've trained in. Probably got 50 or 60 Ks in the pair of shoes. Like, they're not brand new, but enough in them to test them. And then, really simple breakfast routines, really simple coffee routine.
Yeah, I'm pretty big on routines, and also, the same with the kit. I've been doing a couple of my bigger workouts in the kit I'll be wearing, getting the shoes right. So I'm really confident with that. So again, it's getting all that sorted early on in the piece, and then it probably leads to the next part that I guess we've sort of touched on, but this is a major part, this preparation of having your plan, having the kit organized so you're really ready to go, and that's going to eliminate that unnecessary stress just before you get to the start line, or let alone what happens during the race. Yeah,
for this one, I think it's really key in that, like, from 24, 36 hours out before the race starts, like, what stress. I'm just seeing this comment here, Zaka, that someone also said same dinner the night before, which is real. And even I'd say the night before that as well. Anything 48 hours, I wouldn't be eating anything new that I haven't previously eaten. But back to that, eliminating unnecessary stress. Like, it's the little things. Like, I know at the Gold Coast a couple of times I've been there and I've gone to bed the night before knowing I've got a 6 a.m. race the next day, being a bit worried that the tram, the tram goes up and down. No, it's not Campbell Avenue, but it pretty much just goes up and down that strip. And I remember having bad dreams about, I'm going to get there, I'm only going to have half an hour or 45 minutes or whatever, and the tram that comes is going to be full. And then the next tram that comes is going to be full. And then the next, all of a sudden it's like, well, do you run the 5K to the start line, or do you walk it, or do you try to find a taxi? But what's a taxi number in Gold Coast? And then now I just book an Uber. I'm like, it's going to cost me $10 more, but it's eliminating a stress that I don't want to deal with on race day. What's the process with checking your bag in? What's the process with where the portaloos are? What's the process with where the tram actually drops you off and then getting to the start line? Because that's about 3 blocks. So you got to be prepared to walk there. How do you get into the right corrals? Like all those kind of things is like things you can look up, things you can kind of organize, write down your plan for what race morning looks like, what time you're going to leave the hotel, what time you're going to walk to the train stop, all those kind of things. So really, you're just thinking about the race. Like all that's just a plan that you've just got to implement come the night before, come race day, whatever it is, and just trying to eliminate even just pinning your bibs on the night before. Like doing the flat lay, take a photo of it, put it on your social media. So that's just one less thing you have to do at 5 a.m. in the morning. So I'd be nearly making a list of all the things you can potentially do 24 hours before that you don't want to do that morning. Because then the role is just to get there and use that energy on the race, not for worrying about stuff 24 hours earlier. And I think when I was over in Japan, I remember Wayne Larden, he's the run director from the Sydney Marathon, and a 2:17 guy, maybe represented Australia at the World Cross Country. Well, he did represent him. And he kind of said his coach was Dick Telford, who's obviously AIS, and Michael Shelley's coach, Lisa Waitman's coach, sports scientist, I suppose, PhD, whatever he is. He pretty much said, like, if you can eliminate stress in that 24 hours beforehand, when you're stressed, your body's burning. And I'm not a scientist or anything, and this story's come second or third hand, so hopefully it's right. But your body, when you're stressed, your body's burning carbs. And we know that carbs, so like your brain's using those carbs, and we know that carbs are like the number one fuel for marathon running and performance. So it's something to think about as well. If you can be relaxed, you can be chilled out, you don't have that stress and worry on race morning, you're going to be able to use that same energy, those same carbs for the race and not unnecessary stresses. So, yeah. And I guess it's something we might take a bit for granted because we've done and we've got it different as well. We have a special call room at the swimming pool where we've got our own toilets and we've got our own place to drop our bag and things like that. But a lot of people don't have that. So it's about, reading the booklets, understanding the Q&A section.
The website's fantastic. It's got a lot of information about that. So, like you say, you can really do the research. It doesn't take long. Just map out what you're doing. I know. I just think back to the London Marathon, and I was over there, and the day before, I think I did a dry run to go out there, or 2 days before, because I wanted to work out. And we're lucky in a place like Gold Coast. It is very accessible. It's very easy. We all know how to get there, but you can certainly at least work out, okay, how long is it going to take me to get to the race, to the line, and you got to factor in traffic. It gets pretty crazy around there because of the road closures and everything. So really mapping that out the morning. You don't want to be thinking about, oh shit, I've got to order an Uber this morning, and really working this out so you're not carrying that stress onto the race line.
And it's much better, obviously, to get there earlier than late. Like if are we going to leave at 5 or 5:30? Go with 5. Like it's the weather's cool. Nice up there that you're not going to freeze on the start line. I remember doing the same thing in Berlin. Dane Verwey and I just got our stopwatches out and clocked how long it was going to take from the Airbnb to the start line for what we had to do, 3 or 4 days later. So, that's something I think people overlook as well. Like I think people don't think about that, and then they bring this stress on themselves, and then it can have a massive impact on their performance on race day. Yeah,
and race start lines are stressful places in the and in a marathon in itself, when you want to go in there not carrying any of that baggage, so you can handle it when you're on there.
And even like clothing, so like, are you going to wear the old op shop jumper or the old long sleeve that you've had for 10 years and throw that off because you don't want to be cold? Like all those things you can have planned, ready to go.
Now getting into the racing, be prepared to go through a bad patch. So it's a pretty honest, no frills about that. That this may happen, and it's more than likely going to happen at some point in a marathon. half marathon, you might be able to get away with it. You have a blinder and you don't
I
go
think,
through it.
I don't know. I think it happens in every race because I think
Yeah.
we're wired as runners. If it feels amazing, we just start pushing harder and then it feels bad. Do you know what I mean? Like if your plan's to go out there and run 3:05 pace and you get to 15K and your 3:05s feel good, well, you start running threes.
Yeah.
And you put yourself in the hurt locker.
Yeah.
So I think, and then you put yourself in a bad patch. Yeah, isn't that something? And I think the marathon, because the race goes for so long in time duration and of distance, of course, that you're going to go through a bad patch. It can be, I think most of my marathons, I think I've only done 7, but every one of them, the patches come at a different time. Like it's, there's been times where you go through 15, 17, 18K and you think, oh, this isn't great. Like I'm not feeling fantastic and I'm not even halfway yet. And that's probably like more of a mentally bad patch. Like physically you're feeling all right, but mentally you're just starting to get a bit concerned about how you're going to hold it for 42. Of course, like those last, like I'm not really talking with this tip. Everyone's going to find the last 2 or 3Ks hard. Like that's a given because you've been running for 39K at that stage, but there'll probably be a bad patch somewhere else. And I think the Gold Coast, and this is talking from so many years experience of standing on the side of the road at about 31K, when you go over a tiny little hill, it's the only hill in the course, and to the right of you is the finish line. So it's that stage where you're starting to hurt. 11K to go still feels like so long. You've just run up this tiny little hill, but it feels like you're going up Mount Everest. And to the right of you, there's the finish line. There's the exit. You can walk off the side right there if you have to, and all the pain can be over. So, yeah, my tip is for people to be ready for that to happen, and B, it's like, well, what strategy are you going to use? Like, who are you going to think about? Is it your kids at home, or is it your coach, or are you raising money for somebody and you're going to draw on that inspiration? Maybe you're going to distract yourself, counting to 10. That's the thing I do when I'm kind of going through a bad patch sometime. Maybe you're going to break it down and just cut a deal with yourself and maybe go, hey, maybe I don't need to get to 42 today, but I just want to get to 35. And at 35, I'm going to reassess and see if you can get to 38. If you're at 38, maybe you can get to 40. There's different stages, especially on this course as well. The last, probably when
do you
you
want
do
to throw to the, while you're talking about the course, do you want to quickly throw it up and we can just talk about a couple of those patches that you mentioned.
Sure. Because the first, like you go pretty much south for 15K and it's really nice. You go through Surfers Paradise, you go past all the main kind of beaches. It's on a skinny road, like a 2-lane road, and you're going out on the left-hand side and then you come back on your left-hand side coming back out as well. So we're seeing that's where Michael Shelley fell, just over that bridge there at the Commonwealth Games when he was on his way back. So this section here feels amazing. Big crowds, skinny road, kind of, you got skyscrapers on one side and a beautiful beach on the other side. Through this area here, you've actually got houses in between you and the beach. So it feels like you're kind of in a much more built-up area than you are. And then you drop down just pause there for a second, Zaka. That's a kind of interesting part because you kind of just drop down and run on a different highway for 200 or 300 meters, and then you come back up to run along the beach. But I felt like that was really good because it just mixed up the kind of environment a bit. Straight road. You just got to take a turn, take another turn, come back up. And then the focus here is really on this turnaround point, which you got to be careful with. Like you can pretty much you're almost stopping to a complete stop. So be prepared. Well, you know what I mean? You're doing a U-turn. Like you lose a lot of momentum, a lot of rhythm. So coming out of that turn, I'd be prepared to be telling yourself, hey, I might feel like junk for the next 400, 500 meters here because I'm just going to get my legs back under me. This stage here is really interesting because you've got people behind you coming towards you, and you've also got, and when you're on the way out, you've also got the winners of the race coming at you. So this is a 2-lane road. It gets very tight. So there will be sections before you hit the people coming back towards you where previously you've been able to overtake them on the other side of the road, but now you're going to have people coming at you in that lane. So that's something to think about. You might have to get up on the footpath if you want to go wide around people there. So, but it's kind of there. I felt it was a real kind of your adrenaline's pumping because there's kind of loud crowds because
going on there.
Of you, and it gets a bit kind of like, I don't know if claustrophobic's the right word, but it feels like everything's kind of in on you. You got people on the
Because
left,
the buildings
crowd
are
on the
really
right,
close.
and the building. Yeah. And it's not a main like highway like you have earlier in the race. So something to think about there that kind of can get loud. This is nice coming through
Broadbeach.
Yeah. Come back through Surfers Paradise. And this is where I'd say from this point on, this is where people, make or break it through here. Like 25K in, 30K in, you're starting to get tired. If you've run it well, you're starting to come through a lot of people as well here. Like there'll be people, all of a sudden there's people struggling. There's people 30K into a marathon, people haven't got their gels right. They're starting to get carb depleted. They're starting to really bleed time. Like people have been running 4:30s all day and now running 5 minutes. Yeah. And then you've got this little hill at this like little bridge.
Going up to the bridge, is there a slight hill on that?
Not really, to be honest. It'd just be a nice little thing just to break it up a bit. But as you come through there, like that finish line,
that's the aquatic centre there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the finish chute on the right there, and you're going to keep going left. And then out in this part of the course is really lonely. I remember when I paced the lead females to 35K, we kind of pretty much went to the next turnaround. But this is, quite
35 there.
Yeah, that's where Bradley Croker and I stopped pacing that day. And then you're kind of going out and come back again. And then you're on the road. So what was that? 35.8.
36 it was.
36.8. Yeah. So be prepared from like 31 to 36 to be running in the opposite direction of the finish line. And you got 30 plus K in your legs. And it feels like there's about 3 blokes with their dogs on the side of the road. It's not a huge crowd. Whereas in every other part. But once you make that turn, it's all about just getting to the finish line. And then you go the same part of the course, the half course there along the water, and then back in and finish it. Show's over.
Nice.
So it'd be prepared to have some bad patches. And I've spoken before about having things written on my bib. I've had written on my hand before, because when you're starting to go a bit and starting to fatigue, sometimes I used to have sometimes I'd race with a smiley face on my hand. So when I was in a bad patch and maybe start to feel sorry for yourself, you look down at your hand and go, there's a little smile. This isn't too bad. Let's put everything into perspective a bit here. So that's one thing I would be thinking about. And it's going to happen. You don't sign up for a marathon thinking it's going to be all sunshine and lollipops or whatever. Like it's going to get rough out there. That's what you come for. Yeah.
And I think you're spot on. You touched on that in this last bit about just having fun out there, and it is. It's and I say this to my athletes. It's just a privilege that you get a chance to stand on that start line, and you've done all the training. You just get to enjoy it, and whatever happens, but you've done the work to get on the line, and that's an achievement in itself. And just enjoy the experience. And I think embrace the day, embrace the energy, and have fun. Like it is.
And look back. I love looking back over on my training diary or Strava and things like that, and go, look how far. Like I've put in a lot of work to get here. Like this is a rewarding feeling, standing on the start line, and it's something to be really grateful to have the opportunity, especially after 2020. Like a lot of people missed opportunities, and sometimes now that the opportunities are back, we might start taking them for granted again. But it's like, hey, you would have loved to have this opportunity in 2020. So let's really go out there, have fun, like still do your best. Like I'm not saying it's just a party out there and you're going to start drinking beers every aid station. Like it's not about that. It's about having a good crack, but taking some of that pressure off as well. Like we're not trying to hit an Olympic qualifying time in this performance. Like it's everything in perspective. And sometimes you and I both know that we think we live in these little bubbles, and you think things matter more than they do until you rock up to work and start talking to people about running, and no one probably really cares about it. But it's important to put things into perspective, have fun. Elliot Kipchoge's spoken about like why he smiles in races to kind of embrace.
I love that. I think it's a really good one to use, in that going back to the eliminator, even back to the unnecessary stress. If you get stressed in the race, just smile and just look around and think, well, okay, I'm out here giving my best, and just and through the bad patches again, you can just smile, look around, and just work off. I like what you were talking about earlier about just breaking the race down as well and just working through some of these tough points. And then, it's going to...
even just like I've seen people before, thank the volunteers and things like that. You know what I mean? Like, or give the crowd a little thumbs up, like use some of that energy. You don't have to have your head down and just ignore the whole crowd and things like that. Like, they're little things that are easy to do, and you get the energy back off them. And then, you just, I don't know, like it's just such a good experience to be there on race day. Finish lines are the happiest places on earth. Like, the endorphins are going everywhere. Be proud. Getting to the start line's not easy. There's some stat out there, isn't there, that like 35% of people training for a marathon never make the start line. Like, 100%. So if you've got there, that's a huge achievement. It's about executing, following the plan. I know my co-host on Inside Running, like Julian Spence, will often say that the race is kind of the easy part sometimes. Like what you've done in training by yourself when it's 3 degrees in the middle of Victorian winter or whatever, and you've banged out a 35k solo progressive run. It's like, well, the race day is going to be fine. So smile out there, especially the out and back sections where you see people. Like, if you know someone who's coming in the direction, keep an eye out for them, give them a high five, give them a smile. That was one of the best experiences pacing it. We got all the cheers for the lead females because we're leading them through, and you just use that energy and really enjoy it. So use all the training. It's time to cash it in on race day and have fun out there and make sure you enjoy. And even sometimes, like, getting pretty emotional here, but like, it's a good opportunity to thank the people who have supported you before the race as well. Like, hey, I'm going to send my wife a nice message, or send my boss a message.
Partners who have, dealt with the highs and lows of a marathon, someone training for a marathon. It's great if you can,
hey, thanks for cooking me dinner for the last 10 weeks when I've been out running or looking after the kids or whatever it is. So it's a good opportunity to put all that together, and then, that links back into like, what are you going to think about when you're going through a bad patch? So hopefully some good tips there. Mate, you're set now. You should go out and run 2:15. I'm going to change my prediction from 2:21 to 2:15. These tips are so good.
It's very exciting, mate. It's going to be a good couple of weeks leading in, and then it's going to be great to catch up with a lot of Run to PB athletes. And bring it on, hey.
And I know on your last podcast as well, I was listening to that Friday when I was jogging. Like, you guys spoke about the taper. There was a really good listener question there. So that's probably something we haven't touched on. But if you want to go back and listen to that, do you guys just talk about what you should expect to feel like? And everyone thinks when you ease back on that race week, you're meant to feel amazing every day, but you're meant to feel amazing on race day. So don't stress if you don't feel good on the Thursday, Friday, even the Saturday.
Hey, we did have one question. We'll just cover it off before. And it's an interesting one to get your take on. Do you guys warm up, then change shoes, drop bag, or do warm up in the racing shoes? Warm up on a marathon for me is pretty short, so I tend to wear the racing shoes. I probably only do 8 to 10 minutes on a pre-marathon, so I would actually wear them. Me personally.
Yeah. You're talking about. I'm assuming this Facebook user, it just says here, wouldn't have access to what we do. So I would same thing.
Wear the heavies,
Oh no, I'd wear the shoes you're going to race in, because I think that goes back to like that tip number 3 to eliminate stress. So I'd kind of go, hey, then you got to, like, if it's hammering down rain, maybe this is different, because maybe you want to live on a, maybe you're going to throw a waterproof jacket off or a jumper or whatever. But I would get that bag checked in, and then you can focus on doing your 5-10 minute warm up. As Zach has said, you don't need much. Use the first couple of Ks to warm up. And then, I'd have that bag checked in, and knowing that, hey, I'm ready to go now. I can do my 5-minute warm up, get to the start line, eliminate all stress.
Because you don't want to be coming back, rushing around, putting another pair of shoes on, and then, thinking, I've got to run to the corral. And it gets stressful at the last minute if you're sort of stuffing around with those things. So I think it's a good one to eliminate the stress.
Maybe if this question's coming in from someone doing the 5 or the 10 or the half, it might be different. Like, you might, and it's like, it's good. I know I was doing a Canberra half marathon maybe a month ago, and I had my wife there. So I just said, hey, I'm going to leave you at this corner here, probably 200 meters from the start line. I'm going to go for 20 minutes. I'm going to come back. Can you hold my bag when I come back? I'm getting changed. And then maybe, get some situation where then she could check that into the bag one. But I tend to avoid that, because I don't want to be in the lines. I don't want to be, because once the bags are in there, you're not getting them back again. The volunteers don't care if you're in your race shoes or not, and it's just the stress you don't want to be dealing with.
Yeah, you put them on and you're away. Yeah, you're ready to go.
The only good thing about it is like I don't really like warming up in my race shoes because I like that feeling of putting them on and then that race feeling. It's like, okay, it's time to race.
Yeah.
But, yeah, depend really. It's hard with that question because we're not sure what event and we're not sure what pace they're going out as well. So, but ideally, like I'm pretty confident a lot of our coaches, their race plans for the marathon would be, hey, this first 10K is about just getting into the race, finding the right pack. And it's okay to feel rubbish in that first 3 or 4K.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you'd rather be feeling it like that at the start. It's a good sign. You just want to let it go. Yeah. All right, mate.
Beautiful, mate.
Great chat, as always. We've got cheers. Last one here. Cheers for this, guys. Shout out to Coach Andy. Well, Andy will be up there. He's running. We've got Madeline Heine, coach. She's running in the marathon.
We could win both of them, Zaka. Run the PB coaches. I think we've got Frankston. You know what I'm talking about? New coach.
Sorry, Karina Fife.
Karina Fife there as well.
Marathon, yes.
Karina Fife. We could
Josh
go
Harris
first and
is down for
second
the
in the
half.
women's.
Yeah.
Josh Harris is going up. Talked to him last week in Tassie. Gemma Maney be running something up there. Mattress is running the half. I'm running the half. Chris Armstrong's in the half. We got most of the coaches.
So it'd be cool to have them out the course, sort of cheering on their charges.
Coach
as well.
Soph's having a baby; she won't be there. But other coach, like Chris O'Neill's not coming over from WA, but most of them are going to be there.
Yeah, very exciting, mates. It's
all right, mate.
Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the time, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. And
don't catch a cold. Don't roll an ankle between now and the race day. It's just about getting to the start line, ready to go now.
Absolutely.
All right, mate.